What's going on, guys? Welcome in. I am Kadarius Washington, and this is the Women's Basketball Rundown. It's a pleasure to have you guys in as always, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell to be notified of when I post again, and also follow me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. And folks, we're here. The WNBA season officially tips off tonight. We've got three games on the card to get us going, two at 7:30 and one at 10. The first game, the official start of the Paige Beckers era in the WNBA, as her Dallas Wings will take on the Minnesota Lynx. And then the other game tonight at 7:30, we have the Washington Mystics hosting the Atlanta Dream. And then at 10 o'clock tonight, the official first game in the history of the Golden State Valkyries as they take on the LA Sparks at 10 o'clock tonight. But before we get to the games, there's only one thing for us to do here. It's time for me to officially give you guys my 2025 WNBA season predictions. I'm picking my awards, I'm picking my playoff teams, I'm picking my champion. And so here we go, starting with the awards. First award I'm going to start with is Rookie of the Year. And for Rookie of the Year, I'm going to take Paige Beckers. She's the massive favorite to win it at minus 370. I feel like this Dallas Wing team is exactly the team for her to have a great season and definitely allowing her the space to pretty much be Paige Beckers and pretty much be great. And so I really like Paige Beckers here to win Rookie of the Year. Sixth Player of the Year, I like Marine Johannes from the New York Liberty. At first, I liked Leonie Fibic to win Sixth Player of the Year, but all indications are pointing that she's going to be starting, especially now that we know that Benijah Laney Hamilton is going to miss the season as she recovers from that meniscus injury that she suffered in Unrivaled. But I really like Marine Johannes. I love the sample size that I saw from her in the preseason and especially making all those one-legged jumpers, which is crazy. And so I really like Marine Johannes to win Sixth Player of the Year. This was a tough award for me to pick, but nevertheless, I like Johannes to win it. Coach of the Year, I'm picking Stephanie White, the new coach of the Indiana Fever. I feel like the Indiana Fever, not only was this the right move to bring White in, I feel like this was the only move, especially with all the talent that Indiana has. I feel like she is the right woman for the job. And so I really like Stephanie White to help lead this team to being better and being coach of the year. Defensive player of the year. I like Asia Wilson. I like Asia Wilson to win Defensive Player of the Year. Remember, Asia Wilson last season led the league in blocks per game, defensive rebounds per game, and defensive win shares, and also ranked second in defensive rating and fifth in steals per game. And also, I see here that uh four her four stocks per game, which is steals plus blocks, was ranked seventh best in average in WNBA history. And I really like Asia to win it this year. I know Fee is gonna do her thing defensively too, but I really like Asia to win Defensive Player of the Year and Most Improved. I'm going to pick Ryan Howard to win it. I really feel like this is going to be a breakout season for Ryan Howard. Of course, her fourth year in the the former number one pick of the 2022 WNBA draft. And I really think that this Atlanta Dream Team, especially with their new coach, Carl Smesko, who already said that he wants the team to let it fly. And of course, seeing Ryan hitting three after three after three in Unrivaled early this year, I really think Ryan Howard is due for a breakout year. And so I like her to win Most Improved Player. Now we got to get to the most valuable player, the MVP. And three names come to mind when I thought about who I was going to pick for MVP, and I've heard smoke for all three of them. Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, and Nafisa Collier. Of course, hearing the smoke about Caitlin Clark, of course, being the leader of this Indiana Fever team, which, like I said, I think is going to be better this year. And of course, the reigning defending MVP, Asia Wilson, who just came off of what I believe to be the single greatest individual season in the history of professional women's basketball. And if somehow she has a better season than that, woo, boy, that is going to be something. And of course, Nafisa Collier, who definitely was the second best player in the W last year. But you know what, folks? Thinking between Asia, Caitlin, and Fee, I like the Queen. I like Queen Fee to be my MVP. I think Nafisa Collier is going to be out for blood this year, especially with the way that the Lynx lost in the finals last year, and of course, getting her heart ripped out in the unrivaled semifinal on that game-winning shot from De'Erica Hamby. I really like Nafisa Collier to win Most Valuable Player, and so I'm rocking with the MVP. So my awards once again: Rookie of the Year, I'm picking Paige Beckers. Sixth Player of the Year, Maureen Johannes. Coach of the Year, Stephanie White. Defensive Player of the Year, Asia Wilson. Most Improved Player, Ryan Howard. And my MVP is the MVP, Nafisa Collier. All right, folks, it is time for us to pick our playoff teams. We had a whole lot of player movement this year and a whole lot of coaching movement, which, by the way, let me address these coaching changes before I mess around and get going and I forget them. So for the Los Angeles Sparks, we have Lynn Roberts from Utah replacing Kurt Miller, who's the current GM for the Dallas Wings. And then the Atlanta Dream, we have Carl Smesko from Florida Gulf Coast replacing Tanisha Wright after 3 seasons. And then the Indiana Fever, we have Stephanie White returning from Connecticut, replacing Christy Sides. And then the Dallas Wings, we have Chris Koklanis from USC. By the way, shout out 757, Old Dominion alum and did some work with William and Mary. He replaces Letitia Trammell. The Chicago Sky, Tyler Marsh from the Las Vegas Aces. He replaces Teresa Witherspoon after 1 season there. And then the Washington Mystics, we have Sydney Johnson from the Chicago Sky replacing Eric Tebow. The father-son duo there, the coach and GM gone. The Connecticut Sun, Rashid Bazaine from France, of course, replacing Stephanie White. And then we have Natalie Nakase from the Las Vegas Aces, the coach for the all-new Golden State Valkyries. But nevertheless, folks, it is time for us to go ahead and pick our playoff teams. I'm going to give you where each team I feel is going to land from 1 through 13. And here we go. The number one seed as far as the playoffs are concerned, I'm going to pick the reigning defending WNBA champion, New York Liberty. Now, yeah, I know they lost Courtney Vandersloot and Kayla Thornton, but they picked up Natasha Cloud, which was a huge get for the New York Liberty, and Izzy Harrison. And of course, they're going to be defending their title this year without Benijah Laney Hamilton, as I said, suffered that meniscus injury. And outside of that, they're pretty much getting everyone else back. I mean, we know what Brianna Stewart and Jonquil Jones and Sabrina Ionescu can do. This is a really, really deep team. And somehow I thought, even despite winning the championship last year, this team is even better this year. So I really like the New York Liberty as my number one seed. My number two seed, the Minnesota Lynx. Same thing. I mean, even though they lost Maisha Hines Allen and Carly Samuelson, they're getting pretty much everybody else back. This is another deep team. And of course, we know about their high volume shooting and offense last year, the best 3-point percentage in the league last year with 38% from downtown, of course, losing in a controversial fashion to the Minnesota Lynx. I really like this to be the Minnesota Lynx revenge tour. I'm picking the Minnesota Lynx to finish number 2. And number 3, I got to take them. I got to take the Indiana Fever number 3. They made a lot of additions in the offseason, bringing in Dewana Bonner, Sydney Colson, Natasha Howard, Bree Turner, and Sophie Cunningham. They also brought in Jaylen Brown, but she got waived. And of course, drafting Michaela Timpson and also bringing in Bree Hall and Ivana Jean, the latter two, of course, being waived. And of course, with having Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Holt, this is a very deep team. This is a very deep team. There's going to be a lot of offense with this team. So I like the Indiana Fever. Finished 6th last year and lost in the first round to Connecticut. I like the Indiana Fever to finish number 3. Number 4, I have the Las Vegas Aces. Of course, they've had a little bit of roster turnover here. They've lost Kelsey Plum, lost Kate Martin, Tiffany Hayes, Alicia Clark, Sydney Colson, and waived Queen Egbo. But they brought in Jewel Lloyd, which was a pretty big trade. They brought in Dana Evans, even though she's going to be starting the season on the injured list. And a huge get for them was Tiffany Mitchell, which I absolutely love the signing. Of course, Tiffany Mitchell and Asia Wilson were teammates back on that 2015 South Carolina Gamecock team that went to the Final Four that year. Of course, Chelsea Gray, the Chelsea Gray apology tour, Jackie Young being healthy. We know what she's capable. I know what she's capable of, and of course, having the best player in the world in Asia Wilson. Of course, they're going to be without Megan Gustafson indefinitely with that lower leg injury, and of course, Cheyenne Parker Titus on maternity leave. But I like the Las Vegas Aces to finish number 4. And at number 5, I have the Seattle Storm. If you are a fan of defense, like I am, you're going to be a fan of this Seattle Storm team. Seattle last year finished 5th. I forgot to mention the Aces finished 4th last year and lost in the semifinal to the New York Liberty. But the Seattle Storm, they finished 5th last year. They lost in the first round to the Aces. Of course, the Seattle Storm brought in Dominique Malonga with the 2nd overall pick, and that was the only draft pick that they kept. Of course, waiving Sierra Sundell, Madison Connor, and Jordan Hobbs. Of course, they lost Jewel Lloyd, Joyner Holmes, and Sammy Whitcomb, Mercedes Russell, and Victoria Vivians, but they brought in Erica Wheeler, Alicia Clark, Zia Cook, and Lee Euro and Lexi Brown in that trade with the Los Angeles Sparks. And of course, you've got Nneka Agwamike, who's great. Skylar Diggins, who was absolutely phenomenal and unrivaled earlier this year. Gabby Williams, who I've heard a lot of smoke about being most improved player and, of course, making an all-star team. So we'll pay attention to that, even though, like I said, I like Ryan Howard to win the most improved. But we'll pay attention to that. And then Ezzy McBarger, who was 10th last year in total offense, 9th in total defense, and 2nd in blocks per game. I really, really love this team defensively, and I really think they're gonna be a very dangerous team, a very dangerous title contender. I like the Seattle Storm at number 5. And at number 6, I'm taking the Atlanta Dream. If you love offense and you love high volume shooting, you're going to love this Atlanta Dream team. The Atlanta Dream finished 8th last year. Of course, losing in the first round to the Liberty. Um, Of course, the Dream bringing in new head coach Carl Smesko after saying goodbye to Tanisha Wright after 3 seasons. And like I said at the beginning, Carl Smesko, known for his positionless system in women's basketball coming out of Florida Gulf Coast, and he already said he's going to let it fly. So you're going to be seeing a lot of threes there. Of course, they brought in Brittany Griner, who was fourth in offensive rating last year. We saw a lot of threes from her in both Unrivaled and in the preseason. They bring in Shatori Walker Kimbrough and Bree Jones. They kept both of their draft selections, getting Tahina Powell and Taylor Theory in the draft. And Tahina Powell, one of my favorite players to watch in college. I was really happy to see her make the roster, especially after her performance she had on last Saturday, where she was absolutely incredible in that. And of course, their returning players being Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, Nas Hillman, to name a few. And of course, Jordan Canada, who's going to miss a couple of weeks with a knee injury. But I really like this hot. I really like the Atlanta Dream to finish number 6, especially being the high volume shooting team, which usually works out. So I like the Atlanta Dream at number 6. And at number 7, I'm picking the Chicago Sky. The Chicago Sky addressed 2 areas that I was looking for them to address, to look at their guard play and, of course, bring in veteran leadership. And boy, oh boy, did they do that. Bringing in Courtney Vandersloot, Kia Nurse, and Ariel Atkins in the trade. And also drafting Haley Van Lith and Maddie Westbeld, to name a few, and of course Aisha Kubali, who I think is either under overseas or waived. I forgot about Kubali, but of course losing Diamond DeShields, Bree Turner, Izzy Harrison, Kennedy Carter, Maria Condi, and Dana Evans and Rebecca Allen, to name a few. And their returning players, of course, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Elizabeth Williams, shout out 757, Princess Anne alum, Rachel Banham, Michaela Onyenwere, and Mariah Jefferson. Now, listen, they are going to have to fix that guard to big connection, but I think they'll get it done, especially as we go into the middle of the season. And I really think the X factor for the Chicago Sky is going to be Camila Cardoso. Of course, Camila Cardoso, who's my GOAT, who my favorite player by far in the W, um was absolutely incredible in China during the offseason. And of course, Angel Reese working with Lisa Leslie and all she did in Unrivaled. But nevertheless, Camilla, if we get the Camilla Cardoso for Chicago that we saw in China, we could have something here with the Chicago Sky. So the Chicago Sky I have at number 7. And then number 8, my last playoff team, I have the LA Sparks. I think the LA Sparks get to the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. Now, listen, the LA Sparks, of course, the worst record in the W last year, finished with only 8 wins, but they bring in Kelsey Plum and Mercedes Russell. And I like the Plum aspect because, of course, her and Dearica Hamby have chemistry going back to their days with the Las Vegas Aces. And of course, in the draft, bringing in Sarah Ashley Barker and Sanaya Fagan. I'm definitely happy to see the 2 of them stand there, but they did waive Laitu King, who they took 28th overall. And of course, losing Lee Uru, Lexi Brown, and Zaya Cook and Kia Nurse. But nevertheless, Cameron Brink, who is still recovering from that torn ACL from last season, when she does come back, which will be probably at or around or after the All-Star break, I'm definitely interested to see her contributions to the team. Rakia Jackson, who was one of the best rookies last year and one of the most consistent players in Unrivaled early this year, of course, with Ray Burrell, Azare Stevens, who I'm expecting a lot from, especially from what I saw in Unrivaled from her, and also with Dearica Hamby and Odyssey Sims. I think this is a team that can definitely figure things out as far as chemistry and as far as position. Now, listen, I did hear some concerns about Kelsey Plum and her exact position with the LA Sparks, but I think they'll figure it out. And I like the Sparks to be my eighth seed. Number nine, I have just on the outside looking in the Phoenix Mercury. Now, listen, I understand they have Alyssa Thomas and Kalia Copper, who are great. And of course, we know what a healthy Satu Sabali can be. But I have a lot of questions about their depth on this team. Of course, they lost Diana Taurasi to retirement. They lost Brittany Griner, Monique Billings, Rebecca Allen, and Natasha Cloud, and Sophie Cunningham. I have a lot of questions about their depth. I feel like their talent, of course, with their big three in Thomas, Sabali, and Kalia Copper will keep them competitive, but I think they end up just on the outside looking in. And at number 10, I have the Dallas Wings. Kind of the same thing. It's a young team who I kind of have questions about how their chemistry is. I mean, of course, bringing in Maisha Hines Allen, Dejanay Carrington, Alyssa Smith, and Ty Harris. And of course, having Paige Beckers, both of my 757 ladies, Isaiah James and JJ Quinterly. And of course, having Arike Agumbawale, who led the league in steals last year. And of course, we know how good of a player she is. But I think this is a really young team who I think is a year away. I think they are a year away. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be feisty, but I think they are a year away. All right. In my number 11 seed, I have the Connecticut Sun. Now, listen, I think this Sun team is going to be feisty this year. Of course, they bring back Tina Charles, who, even though she's made no indication of it per se, the writing is on the wall that this might be her last year. Of course, they brought in Sanaya Rivers, Anissa Morrow, and Raya Marshall from the draft. And of course, I'm definitely high on them. And Anissa Morrow kind of indicating earlier that she may miss the start of the season due to a undisclosed knee injury, but I'm really high on the rookies. Of course, they lost Alyssa Thomas, DeWanna Bonner, Dejanay Carrington, Bree Jones, and Ty Harris. And the only really returning players for them are Marina Mabry and Olivia Nelson Adota. I think they're going to be a feisty team. I don't think they're going to be as bad as a 12 or a 13 seed. I think they'll be competitive. They'll be feisty. They'll be competitive. I like them as my number 11. And then my number 12 team, I have the Washington Mystics. It's a very young team, full blown rebuild, just like Connecticut. Of course, they lost a lot of players too, losing Alina Deladon to retirement, Shatori Walker Kimbrough, Julie Van Loo, Ariel Atkins, and Carly Samuelson. And of course, in the draft, they bring in Sonia Citron, who I think is going to be a great player, along with Kiki Iriafen. They brought in Georgia Amore, but we're not going to see her this year due to a torn ACL. And of course, having Lucy Olson and waving Zay Green. And the returning players, they have Shakira Austin and Aaliyah Edwards. Both are going to miss the season opener. Shakira due to a leg injury and Aaliyah Edwards to a lower back contusion, and also having Brittany Sykes and Stephanie Dolson. I'm not really expecting much from this team. I think I'm going to be interested in the young players because I like Sonia Citron. Kiki Iriafen was one of my favorites in college. But I'm going to be interested in the young players, but I don't think they're going to be all. I'm really not seeing a lot of wins from the Washington Mystics this year. And my team that I have dead last, the Golden State Valkyries. Now, listen, folks, on Wednesday, I absolutely destroyed the Golden State Valkyries for how they treated their young players. Of course, waiving Cheyenne Sellers before their very first preseason game. And of course, getting rid of their top two scorers in the preseason last year on the bench with Letitia Amier and what's her name? I can't even think of her name. Amier and dang, I can't. It'll come back to me. But listen, they also brought in Caitlin Chen in the draft. But I mean, Caitlin Chen, I didn't really have a lot of expectation for her. I felt like she kind of wasn't ready yet either. Oh, Migna Torre. Yeah, of course, getting rid of Letitia Amier and Migna Torre. So, yeah, the Valkyries are gonna stink this year. All right, so nevertheless, my playoff teams once again at number one, I have the New York Liberty. At number two, I have the Minnesota Lynx. At number three, I have the Indiana Fever. At number four, I have the Las Vegas Aces. At number five, I have the Seattle Storm. Number six, I have the Atlanta Dream. Number seven, the Chicago Sky. Number eight, the Los Angeles Sparks. Number nine, the Phoenix Mercury. Number 10, the Dallas Wings. Number 11, the Connecticut Sun. Number 12, the Washington Mystics. And number 13, the Golden State Valkyries. All right, folks, it's time for me to pick these playoff matches. So here we go. Starting in the first round, we would have the one seed New York Liberty taking on the LA Sparks. I think the Liberty would easily take care of them in three. That then goes in a sweep. All right, the next matchup, we would have the two-seeded Minnesota Lynx taking on the Chicago Sky. Even though I kind of like the Sky to steal a game in that series, I'm going to take the Lynx in four there. All right, in the first round, and then also we would have the Indiana Fever, the three seed, taking on the Atlanta Dream. Now, if you love high volume offense, you are going to love this series here. These two teams would absolutely let it fly. But I like the Indiana Fever to get the better here of the Atlanta Dream. It would be a 5-game series, but I like the Indiana Fever to take care of the Atlanta Dream. And then we would have the four-seeded Las Vegas Aces taking on the Seattle Storm. And we know historically the Aces own the Seattle Storm. I mean, they absolutely destroyed them last year, and I think that's going to be the same case here. I like the Aces. Now, I think this would be a 5-game series, in my opinion. I believe this would be a 4 or 5 game series, but I would like the Aces to win that series there. All right, and then in the WNBA semifinals, we would have the New York Liberty taking on the Las Vegas Aces. I mean, three certainties in life, folks: death, taxes, and the Liberty playing the Aces in the playoffs. And of course, last year I said that the New York Liberty were due to get one over the Aces. And listen, I like the Liberty's depth here. I really like their depth. I really think going between the Liberty and the Aces, I think the Liberty overall are the better team should they face each other. So I like the Liberty to win back-to-back series over the Las Vegas Aces. It's a 5-game series. It's going to be a lot of action, a lot of drama, but I think the Liberty are just deeper than the Aces overall. So I'm going to take the Liberty to win that one in five. And then we would have the Minnesota Lynx taking on the Indiana Fever. That would be another electric offensive series between the Lynx and the Fever. But I mean, I really like the Lynx chemistry in that series. So I would take the Lynx to defeat the Fever if they were to face each other in the semifinal. Because, like I said, this is essentially the same Lynx team from last year. And of course, the Indiana Fever having a new team, better team, but a new team. I like the experience of the Minnesota Lynx. All right, WNBA final for the second straight year. I believe that we're going to get the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx, the two best teams, I believe, in the WNBA, the two deepest teams in the W. And of course, the Liberty looking to defend their title and the Lynx to avenge their title. And looking at the depth and looking at the talent overall, my 2025 WNBA champion is bam, Minnesota Lynx. I'm picking the Lynx to win it all this year. Lynx in six. Lynx in six. I officially declare the Minnesota Lynx Revenge Tour open for business. I like the Minnesota Lynx to win the title. And of course, the finals MVP, the MVP. I like Nafisa Collier to win the WNBA Finals Most Valuable Player. All right, one more look at my predictions before we sign off here. Rookie of the Year, I have Paige Beckers. Sixth Player of the Year, I have Maureen Johannes. Coach of the Year, Stephanie White. Defensive Player of the Year, Asia Wilson. Most Improved Player, Ryan Howard. MVP, Nafisa Collier. And my standings, my playoff teams, the New York Liberty at number 1, the Minnesota Lynx at number 2, the Indiana Fever at number 3, the Las Vegas Aces at number 4, the Seattle Storm at number 5, the Atlanta Dream at number 6, the Chicago Sky at number 7, the LA Sparks at number 8, and then, of course, the 9 teams who I have entering the Lauren Bet sweepstakes. The Phoenix Mercury at number 9, the Dallas Wings at number 10, the Connecticut Sun at number 11, the Washington Mystics at number 12, and the Golden State Valkyries at number 13. And of course, my WNBA champion, the Minnesota Lynx, and my finals MVP, Nafisa Collier. It's going to be an exciting season, folks, and I am looking forward to all of it. As I said, tonight we get the Lynx and the Wings. We got the Dream and the Mystics, both of those games at 7:30, and then at 10 o'clock, we got the Sparks taking on the Valkyries. And then on Saturday, it's going to be New York Liberty Banner Day. The last two WNBA champions facing off as the Las Vegas Aces take on the New York Liberty. That game is at 1 o'clock on Saturday. The last two MVPs as well, and Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson. So that's fun. We also got Sky and the Fever at 3 o'clock. Of course, Caitlin Clark taking on Angel Reese there. And of course, we have the Seattle Storm taking on the Phoenix Mercury at 10 o'clock on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we've got the Mystics taking on the Sun at 1 p.m. And then we have the Lynx taking on the Sparks at 6 p.m. And then on Monday, they wasted no time with this. We get the number 2 pick in Dominique Malonga taking on the number 1 pick in Paige Beckers as the Seattle Storm take on the Dallas Wings. And that will be at 8 p.m. And I am definitely excited to be watching these games and to be talking about it and to be covering the sport with you guys here on the Women's Basketball Rundown. Well, folks, that is going to do it for today's show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell to be notified of when I post again. And also follow me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the season. Links in 6. I will see y'all the next time. Peace.